Hello crafters, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSSTM.com. Welcome back for another Yippee for Yana episode. In this video, I invite you to stretch your holiday stamps beyond the Christmas card making. All supplies I'm using for this project are listed and linked in the video description below for your convenience. One of my favorite Christmas stamp sets from 2021 is a set called Gift Wrap. This set features several images of gifts, along with some holiday sentiments and imagery, such as poinsettias, candy canes, pine branches, and more. It is a great holiday set, and I've used it several times in 2021. However, the main images, the gifts in this set, are evergreen, and they can be used all year round for birthday cards. And that's what I plan to do today. I stamped the gifts and the tags in VersaFine ONYX black ink on Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I heat set the ink with the help of clear embossing powder and my heat tool. I did the most basic thing here, stamped on white, as I planned to color these with my Copic markers. You can also stamp these gifts onto colored cardstock or onto patterned paper, or even use some pattern stamp from your stash to stamp a pattern onto the gifts to create your own unique wrapping paper. You can also stamp these onto scrap wrapping paper you might have after the holidays, so you have lots and lots of options. I used my Copic markers and did very basic, very simple coloring. You can see the marker numbers I used on the caps of the markers on screen. Now, I also left one of the gifts white by coloring it using W5, W3, and W1 marker just to add shading, and I colored the gift tag instead. So you can do that as well. Now, the gift wrap stamp set has a set of coordinating dies. I used mine to cut these images out, and they even cut out the paper inside the loops of the gift tags. I highly recommend you get the dies as well, as these images aren't that easy to fussy cut. The gifts, of course, are easy to cut out using scissors, since these are just squares or rectangles, but the gift tags and the other images are quite tricky. If you colored your gifts with alcohol markers, or maybe you used watercolors or some other coloring medium, you can add a simple pattern or a simple design on top of your gift by using a white or a black pen. You can doodle something if you want to. I used a wide white pen. This is Storytime paint pen from Jane Davenport from Spellbinders, and I drew wonky diagonal lines on one of the gifts. I say wonky because even if I wanted them to be straight, I would not have been able to do that, so I just made them wonky from the start. On the other gift, I did large irregular dots. Again, if I wanted to make them symmetrical and regular, I wouldn't be able to do that, so I went ahead and I made them irregular. You could also use a small stamp, maybe a dot or a heart or a star, and stamp that onto the colored gifts to create a pattern. With the gifts done, I worked on the background for my cards. My plan was to make simple cards with a colored cardstock background, a simple sentiment, and a gift. I used various colors of cardstock from my stash. I have Simon's Sea Glass, AUDREY Blue, Soft Blue, Sunshine, and Hero Art's Peony cardstock here. To add interest to the background, I didn't want the background to be blank. I used Simon's halftone circle background stamp, and I stamped it in watermark ink for a tone-on-tone look. I had to refill my watermark ink pad as it was running a little bit dry, and it was forcing me to double and triple stamp this image to get a good impression. Now, this resulted in lots of watermark ink on the background, and I should have let it dry. If you look closely on some of the cards, you can see that the sentiment stamping bled a little bit. So if you do that, make sure you set your backgrounds aside to let the ink completely dry, otherwise your ink might bleed. Next, I stamped various birthday sentiments onto each of the panels using stamps from Cassie Zelsky's Stop, Drop, Party stamp set. I love the bold look of these sentiments. And of course, the sentiments themselves are very unique. The messages are very unique. And that's what I love Cassie's stamp sets for the most. Next, I foam mounted a gift onto each of the backgrounds. I placed the gifts at an angle, and I also already have the gift tag foam mounted on top. Now, I didn't want to add any embellishment to these cards. I didn't feel like adding sequins or gems or anything like that, but I did stamp several stars around the gifts. The stars tie in nicely with the black stamped sentiments, and they add movement to the card. I also trimmed these background panels to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches and foam mounted them onto A2 white side folding card bases. So don't put your Christmas stamps away just yet. Look through your stash and see which images can be used all year round. I'm sure you'll find something fun. I hope you'll give this idea a try. If you make a card inspired by this video, we'd love it if you shared your project online and tagged us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Thanks so much for joining me today. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.